Our next square in our design project is going to deal with repetition and contrast. These are two principles of design. Repetition is simply repeating a single element many times in a design. For example, you could draw a horizontal line and then draw several other horizontal lines next to it. This shows repetition of concentric circles. This is repetition of dots, points of light. This one shows repetition of arrows. And this one is a repetition of blueberries. You can even show repetition of entire figures. Repetition in design creates a sense of unity, consistency, cohesiveness. It makes everything look like it belongs together. However, you can even create variety with repetition when you vary the size, the color, the value, the placement. So, these little squares, because they're all positioned at the same angle, look like they all go together. They're even all a variety of pastel tones, creating a sense of unity. These arrows are all pointed toward a single direction and are all shades of white, blacks, and grays. That creates a sense of unity. The repetition of this figure, though, lets you create a little bit of an odd image because of the way things are placed. Now, to contrast things, you have to show opposites. So it's almost the opposite of repetition. You can contrast lights and darks. That's normal in our computers. We go to image editing software, and when we push the contrast, we're making our brights brighter and our darks darker. But you can also contrast textures, shapes, size, and that can be used to create variety, interest, and drama. The contrast in the lights and darks lets you see the direction of these lines. Contrast of these puzzle pieces are again lights and darks. This one contrasts the values, the lights and darks, but also contrasts the size. That's why that one heart stands out amongst all the other little hearts. Gustav Klimt, an Austrian painter, used repetition of shapes and lines and swirls in his art. And that repetition gave his artwork a sense of unity. M.C. Escher, a Dutch graphic artist, also famously used repetition in his artworks, especially his tessellations. I can't show you any of his artworks due to copyright permissions, but I have included a link to a video about his artworks, created by the BBC. Now for your square, you can repeat lines, shapes, objects, forms. You can repeat your main image, or you can even pick a secondary image to repeat. Within your shape, you can do your repetition. In the negative space, you can do your repetition, or throughout, both. Now, in addition to the repetition, though, you should also contrast your positive negative space so that you can still see your main shape. The main shape doesn't have to be emphasized, but you should still be able to see it. You can contrast the values, you can contrast the size, the textures, the shapes, the details, or even the directions of your repetition to be able to see your main shape. For example, in this turtle, I have repeated flowers within the turtle itself. And the negative space is just solid black. So I'm repeating flowers, but I'm contrasting the negative space by changing the value. Now, the reminder, of all your 9 squares, only one positive space can be solid color, and only one negative space can be a solid color. So if you choose to do this, that's your one solid negative space. That's it. Done. You can't have any more. In this one, I repeated in my negative space and my positive space. I took fish, tropical fish, and repeated that fish throughout the entire card. The way I contrast it is the fish are black in the negative space, but they are white in the positive space. So where fish overlaps turtle, the color changes from white to black. Now, how you choose to repeat is going to be up to you, but it is important to be clear about what you're repeating. The same thing with your contrast. What you choose to contrast is up to you, but you should be clear and be able to see your shape once your card is done.